Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha Bean of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
My name is SOTLY Shawn.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I love, on the show, I love going back to the beginning. I think the beginning kind of charts our kind of where we like our little habits that we pick up and, like how, our little things that we pick up that we, are like, oh, we're doing that, but it follows us as we get older. So
100%.
tell me a little bit about your childhood and what that was like, and kind of how did you kind of find your way into like music?
Right. No, yeah. So like when I was younger, I would say I was very a normal kid, a lot of energy. Just like I was in love with like wrestling, Dragon Ball Z, a lot of kid stuff. And I really, when I was growing up, I didn't like music, I guess, because my sisters and parents would play it so much and it would always be like really, really loud. So it wasn't until I would say I got about maybe 9 or 10 where I discovered the things that I like or songs that I like, in particular, J. Cole. And
Yes.
that's when I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. It's when you can listen to the stuff you want to listen to and you're not forced to listen to what everybody else wants to listen to. And
Yes.
that's from that moment, I just been in love with the art of not just rapping, but learning about where samples come from and
Yeah.
who made this style and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think J. Cole, speaking of J. Cole, I think like it was, I guess what you call that is like conscious rap and that kind of rap that you don't. And again, there's a place for everything, right? There's
Right.
kind of subjects, but I think he just kind of somehow figured out a way to make it cool and palatable where
Yes.
people when you listen to it where you don't feel like you're being preached to, but also you're just like, oh, like that's interesting. Like like he makes you think about a lot of things. So
Right.
yeah, that's and I can tell that's what from your song that I was listening to, like you were talking about like the day-to-day kind of things in life and just how I think it's super relatable to a lot of people. So tell us about your EP, day by day. So focusing on pushing forward, like tell me a little bit about the process of making that. um why was that chose as your EP, and like what was that process like?
For sure. Yeah. When I was making it, it was like such, just thinking about it now, I actually just had a conversation with one of my friends not too long ago. But we were just talking about like when I was making that project, it was just a lot going on, like financially, personal life. So, a lot of times when people go through things, they have outlets, and my
Hmm.
outlet was music.
Hmm.
So I chose to just kind of highlight that day-to-day struggle. And that was one of the things you had brought up is I never wanted to be preachy. I kind of just
Mm,
like to present situations and then you take from it what you take from it.
yeah.
And I'll have like the message is there, but I don't try to tell people like you're wrong for doing this. You're wrong
Right.
for doing that. Like, because that doesn't, at the end of the day, we make music. So it has to be palatable, like you said. It has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was making the project, I remember I was struggling financially, trying to put music into money and pay my bills and do like
Yeah.
a bunch of other things. And then on top of that, I had like my personal problems going in, like with family and things like that. So at that time, it was just really hard for me to create music without trying to think about that. So I had to essentially put on my blinders and then eventually take it day by day. And that's where the title comes from. That's where you see like the different stories and the songs and things come from as well.
No, I love that. And I think that's so like to be vulnerable, and put your kind of like your heart on them in the music kind of takes like a really it's kind of scary, I'm sure, as an artist,
Yes.
but to be real and transparent with people. But I think that's what creators do, right? We put our emotions out there. Hopefully the people, resonate and feel something or feel some type of, you know, you know, see themselves in it some way or the other. But would you say that in your family, were your family supportive of the music journey for you? Because I mean, for me, I'm the baby of, there's four of us, and I grew up and I was like, I'm gonna go and be a filmmaker. I'm gonna go to Hollywood and bye everybody. And there was like, okay, you know. So I'm curious, how was your journey?
That was I'm also the baby of the family, so it was kind
Oh,
of it was kind of the same reaction. Everybody was kind of like, "Oh, okay," because I was like really shy when I was growing up. So when they found I want to say like people didn't really even find out I did music until like maybe I was like 16.
oh my God.
So yeah, up until that point, um, everybody was just like, I would say like, "Oh yeah, I do things," but yeah, everybody just kind of had like that the same exact reaction, like, "Oh, that's different. Okay, that's what you want to do." And they've always been supportive. They just always have told me like, you want to try to keep, a job and things like that. Make sure your bills are paid. And that is a struggle that I feel like a lot of artists and creatives in general fight with
Mhm.
because it's trying to find the perfect balance of, having the energy because it's very hard. Like me and my friend were just talking about when you work, let's say a 9 to 5, and then like from you get home, it's maybe 6 or 6:30, and then you got to get up and then you got to go work on music. You got to go shoot content. You got to go on meetings. You got to do X, Y, and Z. So it's very, very draining, but it's also rewarding at the same time. But yeah,
Y-
definitely my family was just always very big on like that. Like, make sure you have a job. Like, okay, if you want to do it, like,
Yeah.
we don't know if you have the personality for it because you're very like they see you as one way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they've never directly, I would say, hindered it. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I feel like that's like, I think that's wonderful that you touched on that about the creative process of like how hard it is, because I think so many times we, you know, from with social media, we post all the best photos. Like
Yes.
everything is like just like the best perfect resume. But and then when people really like they don't think to check in or to make sure you're okay mentally because, oh,
Right.
you posted you're at the beach or something, you know, like,
Right.
so it's kind of like, oh, like what do you know, so I like that you're being open about it. Because could you speak on that to those listeners out there, like, you know, I feel like today's time that we live in, we should also, you know, share those moments of the downs, because I think a lot of people who want to get in this industry think it's just glamorous, like,
Yeah,
you know.
100%. No, I always try to make it a point to never, um, I'm not big on even sharing like success in general because I feel like to me it's I always appreciate it. Like my girlfriend always tells me to like appreciate it,
Yeah.
but I always like learn to appreciate things and keep it moving because I don't
Mm,
like to buy into like hype or anything, especially early on.
yeah.
And but yeah, to your point, it's just I always try to make an effort to highlight, I wouldn't say downs, but past struggles that I've gone through, whether I'm talking to somebody in the DM or whether I'm helping somebody with a beat or just like anything I can do to like make people understand like it's not like a straight path. Like you don't get sometimes people are lucky to get like a hot project, a hot song and just go.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, most of us are gonna have to, it's gonna be up, down, all
Mhm.
over the place. So you shouldn't like dodging being discouraged. You're gonna get discouraged. I recently get discouraged. I get discouraged every day. It's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that, but it's just about, never getting too high on the highs, never getting too low on the lows. And like I said, like just keeping those blinders on and being like, okay, this didn't work out. Let's try this. That worked out. That's great. I'm very happy for that. I'm
Yeah.
amazed. But
Yeah.
let's not like buy into that to the point where you don't do anything else. That's
Mm.
the biggest thing that I always try to do is whether it's really good, whether it's really bad, it doesn't
Yeah.
stop me from making the next move.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What's your process of like when it comes to creating? Like, is it, like, I mean, for me, I have to really feel inspired to make, to make something. I'm like, or if it's not there, it's just, it's just not gonna, it's not gonna work out for me.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. Like to that point, it's hard to kind of not really explain, but it's like I try to, especially when it comes to, I always use the example of like creating beats because I
Mm,
make beats. So
nice.
like if the beat comes first or the lyric comes first, it doesn't really matter. But what I always do is I never try to force it, because when you start forcing it, it shows. And I've
Mhm.
made songs where I forced it and I've gotten people's reaction, and I get a certain thing where it's like, they don't know what it is, but I did force that. So now you know, like, you can't do it that way. You
Right.
can't try to. And when you typically start forcing it, that's when you start saying like, oh well, let me try this. Let me think about. Well, Timbaland does his beats like this, so let me go this way. And
Yep.
J. Cole makes his beats like, you can't create like that. So to your point as well, like, being inspiration is very, very important. You can definitely hear a song or anything like that, take from it, or get inspired. I always try to say, like, be inspired, but also just do things outside of what your creative thing is doing. That was like some of the
Mm.
best advice I've ever gotten. Like working out, walking, cooking, doing like everyday tasks can like charge something in you, and you might just start humming a melody or get an idea for something. So yeah.
That's so true. That I love that. That's great. That's great advice to keep in mind. Like, to keep that balance, because that's what it is. It's a constant balance, and not to be, because like it's, whether you're on Mount Rushmore or in the valley, just
Right.
still staying on that constant like tightrope, if you will,
Right.
and not falling off of that. So yeah, that's really good advice. I have a really fun question I like to ask during during the interviews. And there's no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I used to say, I used to say maybe power, but I lean now, and at this moment I would say respect. And
Mm,
not to and I'm kind of like leaning towards power, but I'll say respect, because at the end of the day, it's if somebody respects you, they might not like what you do, they might
mhm,
not understand what you do, but they'll respect the effort. Like,
mhm,
I get a lot of, you get good comments, you get bad comments about your stuff. But I recently remember I was talking to somebody, and they were just like, personally, they were just like, I don't like, it's not for me what you're doing, but I
mhm.
respect that you go out every day and like you try.
Right.
And I think that's all you can kind of ask for on a basic level. Like,
Hmm.
you can have power, in my opinion. It's nothing wrong with it. I don't think, like, having power is good, but it
Hmm.
comes with, like, at this point right now, it's like you have to know how to manage it. The same thing with,
Absolutely.
yeah, like same thing with money and things like that. At the current stage I'm at right now, I think respect is the most important thing, because you might not like what I do. You might think it's trash, for lack of a better reason.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you respect my effort and you see the effort I put in, then that's all I could really ask for at the end of the day.
I love that. No, so that's really good. I feel like, and you're right. And I think, and that's the thing about this business, that like you're gonna get those people that really don't care much about your stuff, and that's okay. Like I feel like
Right,
that's not everything is made for everyone, and
right.
like you'll find your audience, right? And like
Exactly.
I always say, Tyler Perry has his audience. Like he
Yeah,
knows his audience. That's why he continues to produce that product, because he knows they're gonna come. He's like,
exactly.
screw everybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that. I like that. It's a great answer. If okay, there's another fun one. If you could be managed by anybody, living or dead, any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a great, great
That's
question.
hard. That's a hard one.
That's hard. I would say, um, managed. Wow. No, my mind just always goes back to probably either Kendrick or J. Cole, just
Mm,
because of their ability to, and this is just from the outside looking in, of course. I don't know like the background of it, but their ability to kind of drop something and go away for a while and then still maintain that level of, that's very hard, especially and granted the era that they came out in, they came out during the blog era. So they had like a lot of, those fans and diehard fans built up. So it's a little harder to do now. And
yeah.
this,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah, so I would say, well, probably either one of them, J. Cole or Kendrick, because they probably would know better about how to do that. Because I love making music, but I also like to have, and I think they do it better, is just having a private life and not falling into the trap of being a celebrity. I'm not really into the celebrity aspect of things. It's cool. Like everybody likes to be noticed and
Mm.
wanted, but it's like to a certain level, like if you're with your kids or you're with your significant other, you don't want to be bothered. Like it's not every time you want that. So I think probably those two, because they could, as well as just the music side of things and what I do, but they can also give me like kind of that structure and life advice, like, hey, maybe don't do every single show that they ask you to do, because you
Yes.
want to create some level of mystique. The Weeknd is really good at that as well too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like he'll pop out whenever he wants.
right, right.
You're like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, I think that's really cool because before I moved to Los Angeles, I had a job for about 2 years working with Roy Jones Jr. And I didn't know exactly, who he was because I wasn't really privy to that world of
Right.
boxing. And then after working with him for a little bit, I was like, I soon found out like who he was. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
he's a big deal. Like,
right.
we would go to restaurants and people would look at him, snap pictures, and I'm just sitting there like, how do you deal with this? And he kind of told me some really cool stuff, like great advice just about how he deals with it. And he says that you're never what remember that you're not your career. Like
Yes,
it's just an extension of who you are.
yes,
And I remember that, and I keep that in the back of my head. But you see a lot of people, you know, media and music wise, there's like moguls, like you're without getting into certain people, like P. Diddy, won't get into the whole thing, but all these people that get to a certain level, and you're just like, why abuse it? Why do you abuse your power?
right,
So I don't know. I think it's just remembering to, like you said, to keep that, I don't know, like just remember, like it's don't get into the hype of celebrity.
right, exactly.
Yeah. 'Cause it
Yeah,
can be dangerous as we see.
very, yeah.
As we see. So tell me a little bit about, like, for me, so you said J. Cole, someone that have you been like, have you like performed any of your songs yet, or
Yeah, I had the privilege of, I did an open mic. I performed
nice.
the songs off of there called The Soul before
Nice.
that came out. And I want to really get more into performing, because I always say like that's a different art form that I'm really excited about, because that's where
Yeah.
you get to see kind of like live reactions with people. So I want to do like more open mics and things like that. We're kind of like trying to plan that out for the next couple of months now, and
Nice.
maybe even a show if God willing. But yeah, I want to definitely get out there and just perform. Really, I'm excited to see Standing, of course, and I really want to see still how that goes over with people. Just the energy and like what people respond to, and it also helps when you go back and make music and tweak things, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So producing wise, you said you also produce. Would you say as a creative, you have to also know, like when you're starting in the game, it's good to know multiple different things so that you can still, work essentially. Like, and when you started producing, it was it because, is it hard, is it expensive to hire producers?
Yeah, essentially, like when I started producing, I was like maybe 14, 15. I
Wow.
remember I like begged my mom for FL Studio. It's like a producer thing, yeah. And I remember she got it for me, and then I was like, because originally, like a part of me also, since J. Cole makes beats, since Kanye makes beats, since like all
Mm.
my like favorite producers like did like beats and rapping, I was like, okay. But I also knew like I love the creation of it. I would say like I'm somewhat of a control freak naturally, but I always liked the instrumentation on things like that, and I
Mm.
always wanted to know where stuff came from. So when I started producing, it definitely was like when I realized how expensive like getting beats were, and then a lot of the I don't want to say shady, but a lot of the informal under the table things that goes with getting beats from people. So I was like, okay, let me just figure out how to make them myself. Always what I say when you do producing, writing, anything you do creatively when you start out, you're going to be bad. Like it was bad.
Oh
I
yeah.
was you're gonna be bad. I was telling somebody that the other day when they wanted to start producing, and I was like, "You're going to be bad, but it's okay." Because when I look back at those old beats, I love them in a weird way. I
Yeah.
wouldn't release anything, but I love them in a weird way because I'm like, that was you trying. You were
Right.
definitely trying. You had an idea there. It just wasn't all the way there, but you tried. So yeah, it was kind of a bit of a necessity, but it was also just the foresight a little bit to know like, okay, if God forbid if something goes left and
Yeah.
nobody wants to work with me, can I make a song from the ground up myself? And
Mm.
that's kind of where it came from.
And that's good. I feel like that is so important for a lot of creatives to remember is that they like create like knowing other things like in your field is so important. And I think it keeps you working like you get more job and opportunities.
Yeah,
Like the more you know, right?
yeah,
The better. I remember, like yeah, I went to school for cinematography, but then after cinematography, I got into directing and got into writing and got into different other things. So then I could, I and then also just knowing how to interact with other actors on set. So because I've been on that side as well, so it's like, oh, there's like a different type of way I'll kind of go about a certain situation or something. So I totally agree with that. I think a lot of creatives I feel like they think, well, if I'm doing one thing I should stay in one thing, and I'm like,
yeah,
definitely not, definitely not.
yeah,
But I mean, like, I guess that some people can, but it's nowadays it's kind of
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Definitely different. Do you feel like social media, now that AI is here, you have to do the whole social media thing with your just your like putting yourself out there, and like that's important. Do you feel like that AI is a good thing, that it's here and it'll help your social media as well?
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be against it. I understand why, especially from just like excuse me, a creative standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of that's like to your point where like knowing how to do other things like business wise, like when you're creative, you also have to be, business, ready. So or savvy rather. So in that particular case, AI can extremely, extremely be helpful in terms of just organization,
Mm.
getting notes and things proper. They have so many different tools to cut up videos, post your videos for you. So in that regard, yes, I think AI is something you should embrace.
Yeah.
Now it gets a little, we don't know a lot yet, which is why a lot of times I feel like a lot of people are resistant to it.
Hmm.
We get a lot of information, but we really don't know a lot at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
So it's really one of those things where like you want to make sure if it's handled in the right way, I would say it can be beneficial to you. You should
Hmm.
embrace it. You shouldn't be hesitant to it, especially if it can allow you to free up more time creatively to create other things. If you can put some things on autopilot, such as posting for social media
Oh.
and things like that, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
But we don't want it to be a crutch. So you want to, you got to find that balance of it right now. But yeah, I think AI would be really, really great, especially since it helps me a lot with just posting or I'm cutting up clips and picking clips and things like that. It takes a lot of the other things that something that might take 2 hours will take me like 30 minutes now. And that gives me
Okay.
more time to go back to create. So it's good.
That's great. No, I love that. What keeps you going in as an artist and a creator? Like sometimes, when you don't feel like doing it anymore. What keeps you saying, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing this?
Just the I would say recently as well too, just the knowing of I can make a difference in one person's life. I I don't want to say who because I don't know like we're not close or anything like that, but I know like recently somebody sent me a long paragraph, somebody that I went to high school with,
Oh,
and he was just explaining like, I see you, we don't talk. It was just really genuine and it was out of nowhere. And it almost made me cry because it was like in high school you might just see him in passing, what's up, what's up.
yeah, yeah.
You never know who's watching. So that idea of that, like, you're putting something out there that one person resonates with and inspires. That's kind of what keeps me going. Like, okay, that's one person. Let me see if I can get another person and another person. And just the love for it. Because even if like now I don't make money off a lot of money and nothing like that, but it's just, the love of getting better and just the love of trying to reach a certain, I don't know, whatever that level is of greatness. I don't know, but it's just that love of it. And I would do it. I don't know my life without doing it. So it's kind of like,
Mm.
it's that.
I love that. You don't know your life without it. That's interesting. That's actually, yeah, that's how you know that you're born to do something, right? When you don't have to question it. It's like this is my purpose and
Yeah,
this is just me.
this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. What advice would you give to those out there that are listening that are trying to get in the music world and don't really quite know how to do it?
Um, I would say definitely start off with what you like doing or what you find the most interesting. So like YouTube is a big resource. So if you're into writing, just write. Don't think about structure, rhyming, anything like that. Just write ideas or just write a story or write about your day. If you like um if you like talking to people, you probably would be you might not be the best musician, but you know how to talk and communicate ideas. You could
Mhm.
be a producer. You
I
might hear
see.
sounds and stuff like that. You might be like, okay, well, I like this sound. I don't like this sound. You might have a really good ear. So,
Mm.
you can always train and sharpen those things. A lot of times getting in, it's just so many different ways now to get into the music industry. It's like almost like I don't want to say anybody can do it because there's still a level of competency you have to have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you still, yeah, like I would say just start off by figuring out anything, even if it's not music industry related. I stress all the time to like kids that are in school or anybody, please figure out something that you like doing because that is what in most cases will keep you going and get you through school and get you through that job that you don't really like. Because if
Right.
you can see like if you can weave in how you like doing something, like if you like drawing or you like being with comic books or whatever, those things can become. You might go to school for business management and start up a comic book company. So just the point just being is just that figure out what you like doing about anything, whether it be in the music industry, and see how you kind of can fit in. And
Mhm.
don't think too much about money first, because then that'll get you doing jobs that you know you really don't like doing. So figure out what you like doing. Don't worry about the money aspect of it, and then everything else will kind of fall into place. You'll do your own
That's so
research.
true.
Yeah,
I love that. That's such great advice. I think that's what a lot of listeners like. They love listening to that part, like hearing that part from the artist. Is like, how do we do it? Like, because I don't think a lot of people understand there. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of ways to get into music, but maybe they're not sure of how to use those platforms. Or I
right.
think definitely educate yourself on all that. But it's a great time. Like you said, it's easier in a way of like it's everything is so accessible versus back in the day when our our grandparents or parents were around. Music, it was really hard to get into
Yeah,
that space. So it's very it's good, and it's also like then you hear those you get those you hear artists that come out of nowhere and you're like, how, where did they come from?
all the time. Yeah,
Oh man, no, but like it's just interesting. It's very interesting how it all works out. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing
no
your
problem.
knowledge and your music with us. I wish you all the best. And are you working on anything at the moment? Anything you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm working on I got some songs that I want to release down for the summer. Maybe one or two, definitely at least one for the summertime. And then a possible EP like coming towards the later end of the year, maybe.
Nice.
And I'm just always open to collaborate if people want to collaborate as well. Um, yeah, just really focusing on those songs possibly for the summer right now, and then just trying to map out some open mics to get some skills up and things like that.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. And oh, also, where can people find you on social media?
Yes. So any social media platform is going to be SOTLY Shawn, SOTLY Shawn, SHAWN. And yeah, you'll be able to find me. You search that up, I'll be there. You can at DM me on any platform, I'll respond.
Oh,
Instagram is probably the best way to DM me. Twitter DMs, you can also DM me there. But yeah, any platform, that's where you'll find me.
nice. Thank you so much for coming on, and definitely come back on in the future.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was
Of
nice.
course. It was nice. It was really lovely talking to you. Nice meeting you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.